Let us bow our heads and pray for a moment. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you, O God, my rock and my salvation. The prayer of my heart is that you will speak either through me or in spite of me, but O Spirit of God, speak into our hearts, into our minds, and into our beings. Amen. Many years ago, in the late 60s, maybe early 70s, Elvis Presley sang a wonderful song. And the name of this song was In the Ghetto. Beautiful song. It's a sad story, very sad story. It is about a little boy, a little baby, that was born in the ghettos in Chicago. He starts the song, the lyrics start this way. As the snow flies on a cold and gray Chicago morning, a poor little baby child is born in the ghetto. And his mama cries, because if there's one thing that she don't need, is another hungry mouth to feed in the ghetto. And then it tells the story of this little boy that grows up to be very angry. And it ends with a very sad part also on a very cold morning. He died. And these are the words in the ghetto. And as a young man dies on a cold and gray Chicago morning, another little baby child is born in the ghetto. And his mama cries in the ghetto. Very sad. We have read two scriptures this afternoon. The one is in Paul's admission, his exhortation of Timothy. 1 Timothy 4, and he tells Timothy, grow. Timothy, don't let people look down on your youth. Timothy, God's plan for you is to grow. And he uses strong words in this growth exhortation of Timothy. He says to him, command and teach these things. Don't let anyone look down on you because you are young, but set an example for the believers in speech, in conduct, in love, in faith and purity. And then he goes on, and if you can just summarize this whole piece with one word, is grow. Timothy, be all that God has intended you to be. Don't let anyone holds you back. And then we read Psalm 109. What a contrast. My goodness, if you read Psalm 109, it is an angry psalm. It's one of those psalms that we really have a problem preaching about. You don't really want to preach about the things that the psalmist is going on about here. It feels odd to read the psalm, and at some point when the psalmist is really angry and he vents his anger towards God, we say, this is the word of the Lord, and everybody says, thanks be to God. The same with Psalm 137. It ends with something very horrific, and we don't really know what to do with that. It is about anger. You know, we Christians, we don't really know how to handle anger. We don't really want to talk about anger. It's a weird subject to talk about. So we leave it and we struggle with it. We don't want to become angry because it's not very Christian-like. So we suppress it. We sidestep it. If we explode somewhere, well, we try not to think about it. We feel guilty about it. We see in the Bible these two concepts. The one is to grow. And the other one is that we can, in our process of growing to be all that God wants us to be, we can get stuck. Last week we spoke about to being stuck in happiness, the trap of happiness. But another trap that is so common is the trap of anger. Don't know how to deal with anger. And this song, this hit of Elvis Presley so many years ago is touching a nerve in us because it talks about angry people going through their lives angry. Truth to be told, we all know angry young men, angry young women. We all know angry middle-aged people. We all know angry old people. We all have heard, maybe have seen angry people die. It's a fact. We work with angry people day by day, and sometimes we don't know how to work. Maybe you are an angry person. On the outside, we laugh and we smile and we make jokes and we go through life, but in the inside, it's like a fire that is raging inside. With the slightest provocation, the anger is spurting out. And it's like a volcano spurting out lava and fire and brimstone. And then we try to compose again. I would like to just go over the topic of anger. There's so much to be said about this, and we can spend days talking about it. There's so much about it. I will just want to touch on it this afternoon. There are events that trigger anger. And everyone, those events, those happenings that trigger anger are different. What makes you angry probably won't make me angry. What makes me angry won't make you angry. And so we differ. There's so many processes going on in anger. Just think of it standing in a long queue. And maybe it is our pet peeves. I have many pet peeves. I walk fast. If somebody's slow, especially on an escalator, I just want to go on. But at the short term, it's just a pet peeve. But there are other things that really, really get you going, really get those anger inside you flaming up, traffic congestion, a friend not paying back the money, being wrongly accused of something, rumors you heard about you, so many things that can trigger our anger. And do they trigger it? My goodness, they do. Just get into a subway line to 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock in the afternoon. You see many things. Kinds of anger. What kinds of anger are they? And also, this is a huge topic. I just want to touch on it. We get personal anger. We get anger that is, it's our anger. It's that personal anger. Things I get annoyed that annoy you. Things that ignite this flame inside of you. We get national anger. Just go outside on a Saturday or a Sunday to City Hall, and you see a lot of people doing their protesting thing. A few years ago, we've seen so many protests all around us. National anger. And national anger might be a good thing as well. Changes happen. Political anger, we know what that is. And then there's this anger towards God. Psalm 109, imprecatory psalms, there are quite a few of them. This anger that is shared towards God or angry with God. We lost somebody dear to us. God, how can you do that? You lost your job. Things are not going well. And you know, but I'm doing my bit. I try to believe. I try to pray. But yes, everything is just going wrong. And so we try to deal with our anger. There are many ways we deal with anger. Just to name a few, we can repress it. So what do we do with our anger? Many people, it's not very fashionable to explode. So what we do, we take our anger and we press it down all the time and make us smile. It doesn't help. You see, anger is an energy. And anger must be dealt with. If not, and you suppress it all the time, anger has a funny way of sitting in your body. Many kind of physical ailments and diseases, you can direct it back to anger. There's so many heart, asthma, a lot of other diseases you can trace it back. Not all of them, I'm not a physician. And if you look at many people, they've got trouble with their bodies, and then you trace it back, and my goodness, it's the anger. Because of anger inside. We channel our anger. We take our anger and we project it to others. Anger doesn't like to be lonely. So what we do when we get angry, we share it somehow, either explicitly or implicitly. We share it with others. It must go out somewhere, and anger is not very good at it to be alone. We let it roll over us. We dream and fantasize about it. Somebody did some injustice to you, and in your mind you just see how you wring his neck. Or we can pray it. We can do that. I want to leave you with two images of anger. The one image of anger, metaphor for anger, is a powerful wave. So if we ask this question, what is anger? Think of it as a powerful wave. Now, a powerful wave can do one of two things. It can destroy this little boat, or it can ride on it. The problem with many of us is that this anger is so overwhelming, it just washes over us and it's uncontrollable. But it can be the wave that I can ride out to safety. The second image I want to leave you with is the image of anger is dynamite. Anger is like dynamite. But it's dynamite in your hand. I hope you take this. It's very important. If you think of anger as dynamite, there are three things that you can do with it. One of three things. If you think of anger as dynamite, think of anger that can explode. It's uncontrollable. It is that kind of anger that you have in your hand and you throw it somewhere and it causes this massive explosion. Those of you who had children, you know tantrums, don't you? I've got 2 kids, and they also went through their stages of tantrums. So I didn't really know how to handle it because there's no textbook for that coming out with your own kid. I remember one day my son or daughter, I can't remember whom it was, had their little anger their little tantrum, lying with their back on the floor and just carrying on. So the only thing that I could think of was to lie next to him and also do the tantrum thing. It was very funny. And my child was looking at me like this and realized this is very silly. And that was the last. But we know tantrums. Tantrums in kids, well, that's quite common. Tantrum in adults. Go to the airport. You see quite a few of that. Tantrums. Go to the workplace. You see quite a few of that. That's explosive. It's just uncontrollable. It's just this anger that it flows out. Swearing, screaming, criticizing, acts of violence and rage. Somebody said, between anger and danger, there's just a D. Anger can be very dangerous. The second thing that you can do with anger, the first is it can explode. The second thing, it can implode. Implosion. Implosion is where anger is internalized. It is as if this person is taking this dynamite and like a suicide bomber, strap it around him or her. It's going to the inside. Internalized anger. It's not easily observed because we are taught from childhood, don't express your anger. You should not be angry. We are sometimes told, well, this is no reason to be angry, and what we do, and we learn this behavior from childhood, is to take anger. We want to be beautiful Christians, so we smile and we don't show that we're angry. If you were asked, are you angry? You said, no, I can take it. I'm good. I'm fine. Meantime, it's going inside, deep inside. And there inside, it's one of the causes of depression. If a person is depressed, one of the first questions I ask my counselor is, why are you angry? What is the root of your anger? It's implosion, inside. It goes to things like denial, withdrawal. But if you're married, you know the silent treatment, don't you? If you have teenagers, that's silent treatment. What's wrong? Nothing. And after a few minutes, what's wrong? Nothing. Be assured there is something wrong inside. Passive aggressiveness. We can talk a long time about that. In its most serious form, this internalized anger can lead even to suicide. It's going down deep inside. Implosive. It has the same effect as explosive. It's just that it tears you to pieces. But the last, anger. This dynamite can be a channel of change. In my country, we use dynamite in the mines. Explodes, but it's controlled. There's something very serious about anger. Anger is a good thing. Anger can be the positive thing. It's a God-given emotion. It's interesting in the Bible that the word anger appears 455 times, and most of the time it's directed to God. God is angry. It's not a bad emotion. It's what we do with that. Anger can be an energy that brings about change. Many times I see clients, and one of the questions, they come with the same problem year after year after year, after session, there's no change, and then sometimes I tell them, well, you're not angry enough to change. Once you get angry enough at this problem that you have, then you will change. It can be very positive. anger can be a changing agent. This week, you will, as a nation, Koreans as a nation, will celebrate independence. It was your anger that got you there. Positive. And anger, this anger is a controlled anger under the control of someone, of a community, of people, or God. So I would leave you as a conclusion with the following. Anger is the dynamite in your hand. Anger was designed to be a visitor, never a resident. But anger is in your hand, and if you want to do anything about being an angry person with your anger, whichever way it goes, it's in your hand. If it's in your hand, you are the owner of your anger. Whatever makes you angry, whatever is the source of that, that's in your hand now. You have to take charge of that. David took charge by taking that to the Lord, and with the Lord he's fighting his emotions and his anger, he's venting it. You're the owner. You cannot burden other people with your anger. Don't expect them to take it. They cannot handle it. So take ownership. And if you take ownership of that, and you know this anger is the dynamite, it's the energy to change, find the change. May God help us. Amen.